Hello! Today I'm going to make a patch the embroidery way. So I have prepared 2 pieces of fabric. This is cotton woven, a thin cotton woven, and I've added on one piece I've added 2 pieces of interfacing iron on, and on the other piece I have just one. This is a very thin interfacing. So this is for a small patch. Next step is to prepare the hoop. In this case I want to use tearaway. This is cutaway. I don't want to use that for this patch. You can also use water soluble stabilizer if you want to. But for me, when I try to get that, it's much more expensive than this tearaway, so I use that. And I want to use 2 layers. I have run the first step directly on the interfacing on the stabilizer, and after that I take my piece of fabric, the one with 2 layers of interfacing, and I add that, and I make sure that the interfacing is covering the edges, because if you don't interface the woven fabric it will pucker a lot and it will not look good. So I'm running the first step again, now with the fabric. For this design, the second step is you fill the whole area here, and I don't want to do that because I want it to be black. I just want the text. So I'm going to skip that step and continue with the text. Sometimes you want to pause it to cut some thread, so you don't run over it and then have problems cutting them afterwards. And then you need a good pair of scissors. And don't leave the thread lying there. There you go. And now my machine says it's done. So then you go on to the next step. You can continue with the same color if you want to, but I'm going to change mine to yellow. Now this step is done. So what you're going to do next is, if you want to, you can change the color of the thread for the border. Then you take your hoop. Don't unhoop the stabilizer. You take it off and then you add the other piece of fabric on the back. So this is how it looks from the other side. And as I said, this is a cotton woven with 1 layer of interfacing, a very thin one, iron on. You can use felt if you want to, or something else. Then you make sure you add it securely so it won't move when you run the next step. See, I have added one piece of tape. This is a painter's tape on one side and one on the other side. And make sure that the tape doesn't cover the actual design, because if your needle goes through the tape, you might get some problems. So when you've added the back fabric, you reattach the hoop to the machine and run the next step. Keep your fingers out of the way. So after that, you again remove the hoop from the machine. And now we're going to cut off the excess fabric from outside this line here. So as you can see, there's a margin here. There was about half an inch between, and it's good when you cut your fabric that you have some extra, because it's much harder to do this if you cut it exactly as big as you want it. Of course you can do that too. Then you can use glue and add it to the back and to the front. So what I do next is I have this scissors and I cut it as close as I can. As you see, it's very close. And I cut all the way around. And I do the same on the front as well. As you can see, it's cut now, very close to the stitching on the front as well as on the back. So you put the hoop back on the machine. And then you will continue with the next step. Oh, press your foot down first. You can pause and cut the thread. And as you see, the stitching will cover the edge completely. And now it's done. So I'm going to continue with another design. That's why it went over there. But if you're only doing this patch, you now can just push it through your stabilizer. And if you have used a polyester thread, you can run a lighter around the edge to get this fuss away from the tear away. So good luck!